Linnell McGinley Liddy.
You did it right.
Now, if you don't know who she is the corrections commissioner. Okay, she's the commissioner of corrections, which is a completely like dysfunctionally misguided agency in New York City, almost neglected. These poor correction officers, there's no guidance there because the head of it is atrocious, which is this woman. And if people don't know, she came into power because Luis Molina, who was the commissioner of corrections at the time, he had to leave in a hurry because of things that you filed. So before we get, I don't know if you want to touch up a little bit about this before we get into the main topic with her and the way she's running corrections, which is atrocious.
Yeah. I mean, let's talk about Luis Molina because he's still at DCAS. So he hasn't. So it's like, when you use RAID on like a roach and they just scatter and you're like, I can't just stomp this thing out. That's what has happened with Luis Molina. He scattered to City Hall where Eric Adams had to hide him quickly. And then nobody could stand him over there. And so they scattered him over to DCAS. So, yeah, I mean, look, Luis Molina, obviously his first mistake was firing me after I refused to dismiss thousands of cases that were legitimate cases. But he just kept going after that. And yes, it's true. I did expose all of his corruption. And so what ended up happening is there was a final nail in the coffin, so to speak, with Luis Molina. And that is when I was defending my former number 2, Ruben Benitez, who was reinstated, rightly so, at DOC as one of the heads of investigations there because he's the best. But it was because of this unconstitutional and unfair and illegal demotion of him that I exposed that caused Mayor Adams to say, you know what, pack yourself up and get out. Now, the problem was Eric Adams didn't have a replacement for him. It was only, little problem. It was because all of this was happening and he had no idea who to replace him with. And he also knew that if he kept replacing him with his own cronies, I was just going to keep exposing the corruption because I wasn't going to stop exposing corruption. I had nothing against Luis Molina per se. It's about corruption. So, Linnell McGinley Liddy was from the previous administration. She had been there previously. So she was not really an Eric Adams crony that just came in at, the time that he came in. And she wasn't really part of his inner circle. I mean, there were, connections there, but she wasn't part of that inner circle. And so I think he felt that if he put her in there, I would shut up. Listen, I'm going to say something just to give her some props here because it is, how I am, Sal. I try to be fair. I will say that there was a huge sigh of relief when she came in because even if she's not, I don't know that she's the perfect person for the role, but she's not corrupt, and getting Luis Molina, who was completely corrupt, out of that position was really the win. For everybody in the city, for people on Rikers, staff, detainees, and really anybody who dealt with the criminal justice system at all. Once that was done, Linnell going in there was kind of a breath of fresh air in that sense of the word. But Sal, as you say, things are still no good there. And you know how I feel. We need a receiver to head on in there and take control.
Yeah. And trying to get to now is that she's a lawyer, just like the soccer mom of the NYPD. So they're 2 lawyers, 2 females that have no clue about anything about their own agency. Like they just lost in how to handle things. Someone in here I just saw, 1804 Bank says that the corrections officers are now doing 12-hour tours again. Like this was stopping. And here's an article just from today. Or just the other day, New York City Correction Department tries 12-hour tours again as Rikers faces rising jail population. The population of Rikers has surged 32% since 2022, while officer staffing has dropped 25%. forcing longer shifts. I thought this was something that they had eliminated, but under this commissioner, McGinley Liddy there, she doesn't know what the hell she's doing because this is, she's never worn that uniform. She never worked in corrections, right? So how is she going to know what needs to be done, A, by her staff, B, by her officers, right? Her staff underneath the officers, and how to handle work in facilities like Rikers and other facilities. She doesn't know because she has no experience. You just put a female lawyer as, you know what to do, but she doesn't. That's the problem.
So much of being able to lead proficiently in a huge law enforcement agency is surrounding yourself with the right people as well. And I think that's kind of been an issue there. I mean, there were a couple people there who are decent, but overall, I don't think that she has the strongest team. And I think that that's a problem. And I don't think that she has the buy-in from the rank and file. And I think the 12-hour tour thing was a big change that she made, and the union is not happy with it. And they have obviously voiced their strong opinions about it. And yet you're dealing with a rising population, which you could blame Eric Adams on, right? Because he's all about that. And, there is a way. There's actually a way, Sal, to fix Rikers. Everybody says, oh, there's no way to fix it. You got to just close it and eliminate it. And I do think that there's a way. I think that certain things need to be rejiggered. I think that it's a very niche place. If you haven't worked there in any capacity, it's very difficult to understand the politics inside and the rules and what is important with respect to safety and security, and how you have to be able to balance the safety and security of the officers and the detainees with the reforms that you want to put in. A lot of people come in one way or another. They're like, safety and security only, and we don't care what happens to the detainees, and screw them, and solitary confinement for everybody, whatever. And then you have people who are totally closed-minded about that and only want reforms, and they want to just let everybody out, and they want to screw over the officers, and they want to just give them, 12-hour tours and, a million shifts where they get stuck and they don't know when they're coming home to their family. And they just, and they're overly disciplined. And I can say that as the former disciplinarian, you cannot look at it in black and white that way. And there is a way to balance that in the middle. It's just that nobody's been willing to do it, because if you think about it, Sal, just like in almost every other aspect of lives, everybody wants to, how can I say this right? It's almost like if you're in the middle and you're rational, you don't get like severe attention and bolstering from any side. You're just a regular, normal person who wants what's right for everybody. But, if you're all the way on the right or all the way on the left, you get like a built-in party of people who are going to support you. So it's almost like people feel like they have to be radical on either end of the spectrum. But you don't. You can actually fix things if you meet in the middle on a lot of these issues.
What you would expect a commissioner to do. But now when you just don't know this culture, you're not from this culture, so they're just running circles around there, And Special Agent has two different comments that it was great. By the way, 1804 Bank says Sarena should be the DOC commissioner. I think Sarena would not under Eric Adams, though. That would never happen. She will never. I don't think so. Yeah, Eric, that won't happen. But Special Agent said the problem with these folks is that they don't view the inmates as human beings that should be treated humanely. Liddy was just thrown in an impossible situation. She has no clue. That I agree with. Why? Because we're seeing this with Jessica Tisch. She has no clue. She might have worked in the NYPD brief. She doesn't know how to be a cop in the street, just like Liddy doesn't know how to be a corrections officer or anyone above a correction officer, because she's never worked in the facility. She's a lawyer. This is why this is a bad idea having her. And she also goes on to say, Molina was a dirtbag. He was also disrespectful to the presiding judge, Taylor Swain, the judge who makes a decision whether the department would go into receivership. That's a
correct.
Fact.
That is a fact. He snubbed the very judge who was going to make the decision on his future and the future of DOC, which just goes to show you of the emotional intelligence that this man possesses.
Listen, he's another one. He's Anthony Miranda's, right-hand man. They, all hanging out together. It's really bad with these guys. And somehow, under Mayor-elect Mamdani right now, we don't hear anything about Commissioner for Corrections, and you don't hear anything about Molina hiding in DCAS, or who will be the New York City sheriff, which is where Anthony Miranda is, and he's got a load of issues over there. So, again, these are three people just lingering around we don't hear anything about.